Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Artrip coming to you with another video review. And in today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the new Transformers Siege Voyager class Starscream. For the package, you got that really nice open window that fully showcases the figure. You got the Transformers text with the Generation logo. You can see this is part of the War for Cybertron trilogy. And then the side here has a really cool artistic image of Starscream. Now, what's neat about this is what they started doing is putting some actual blacklight stuff built into it. It's hard to see with all my lights on here, but you can kind of see, like, you got WFC S24 there, and then when you move it away, obviously it goes away. You got a Decepticon logo there. Really nice image and just artwork throughout the entire thing. Nothing overly spectacular hidden in here. Soundwave has something really interesting. Obviously, we'll look at that when we take a look at the figure, but you got like another Decepticon logo right down there. You got some numbers here. It says Starscream Transformers across the bottom, and then again, you move the light away, and all that disappears. So that's really cool. I don't think I don't think anything else is on this guy. It's kind of just fairly generic. There's nothing else really added on there. And then, just bringing this in. Again, there's nothing really on that side. Nothing here in the front, but here on the side that I was originally showing, you can see a lot more of that stuff coming through on the overall detail of it, which is really cool. I don't know if I've ever seen them do something like that with just the packaging. That's really neat. But you come around to the back. You got a nice image of him in his robot mode and his jet mode, which is the first time that we've ever gotten an official Tetrajet. And then much like all these other Transformers Siege figures, you can use the different Battle Masters and kind of weaponize them and armor them up and all that kind of stuff. But for the packaging on this guy, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have Starscream open up out of his packaging and obviously in his vehicle mode. Now, before I even get started, there's a bit of controversy regarding this figure. Apparently, the speculation was the first wave of figures that came out, the chest here didn't get pinned in. Now, it's been reported that there's been a running change where the pin has been put into the figure that has been floating around is this one. And you can see this is apparently the number that is supposed to have the pin inside. So when I went to the store, this is what I found. I found one with the exact same number. If I zoom in, you can see that number right there is the same as this guy. So I thought, cool. But to be on the safe side, at another Walmart, I found this one with this number, which is different than what we have here. So I bought both of the figures. As you can see, we got this one still in the package. We got this one, which is this guy. Now, I did cut the bottom of this, slide this out, and I didn't need to unsnip anything. I can just take the chest and see that it's not pinned in. You can even also see it from the side. I mean, like, there's like, if you can see there's like no pin in there. So neither one of these with that number has a pin. So what does that mean? I don't know. Like I said, that number was supposed to be the one that had the running change. Whether or not that is the case, I have no idea, but that does kind of suck. For the jet mode, though, here, as you can see, he's in his Tetrajet, which, as I talked about, this is the first time that we've got an official Tetrajet for a Starscream or any of the Seekers, really. And honestly, it doesn't look bad. I mean, he does have noticeable undercarriage. These are his legs. They compress and hide fairly decently. I mean, it doesn't bother me really all that much. I do wish it was a little bit more streamlined, but it's okay. But the top section and everything, this is gorgeous. You do have this weird splotching of battle damage or wear or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that throughout the entire thing, the nose cone. You come to the back, though, and this is where I feel like they kind of got lazy. Obviously, this is his chest in robot mode. This looks okay, but this just... the whole thing just, I don't think it looks good. I mean, this is fine. This is just kind of ugly. I mean, I guess you're not going to be displaying the figure from the back. I mean, so that looks cool. And obviously, because Seekers are repainted multiple times, we're probably going to get a Thundercracker and a Skywarp with this. Personally, I would love it if we got the Rainmakers. That would be cool. Got some nice Decepticon logos there. A lot of really nice molded in detail throughout the entire figure. But this figure has to live up to this one, and I'm really kind of disappointed because I just discovered that there's a little bit of yellowing on my original guy. I mean, you can see it kind of here on the gun. Even his leg had a little bit of yellowing, so I'm really kind of bummed up. But this has been the standard for every Starscream figure I've ever had. This guy is amazing. Probably one of the best transforming figures that we've ever gotten. So I gotta hold it up to this guy. And you can see that this is a Voyager, this is a Deluxe. Deluxes back in the day were pretty big. But you can see jet mode wise, he's actually bigger than the new one. Obviously, not as thick or anything, but no Starscream that's ever come out has been able to replace this one on my classics shelf. And I gotta be honest, as much as I do like this guy, I still don't think this one is going to be removed from my display. That's why I would really love it if these guys were repainted as the Rainmakers. What the Acid Storm, Bitstream, whatever their names are. If they got that coloring, I would love it, because this is how they were on Cybertron. This I just like a lot more. But you can see that this guy is primarily this white color, whereas he's a little bit more of a gray color. You got the weapons here on the bottom. You got a couple different options for it. You can peg it in here on the side of what's going to become his arm. You got a hole right there, and then you got another one on his upper shoulder, which is what you're going to use for that robot mode. And then you got some down here on the bottom. Personally, though, I like putting it on the side here with the blue. I mean, you just look at it like hanging down here. I don't think it looks as good. And then when you put it in on the angle here, you can't push it all the way down because it bumps into the lower section. So you kind of have to leave it up a little bit. That doesn't look all that bad. It kind of goes off on an angle, but I just think that this pegging it in straight on to the side like that, I just think looks a little bit better. Plus, it kind of fills out the bottom bit here with the angles. So I think that looks a little bit better. Overall, it's a decent looking vehicle mode. Obviously, it replicates what it's supposed to. I just don't like this. I honestly thought that the whole leg section here underneath would bother me a lot more than this, but that one just really sticks out. It doesn't, I mean, and you can even see it because it's like hanging out here. So it's not even flush with everything. It's like just stuck there, and it just looks out of place. I'm not a big fan of that. First transformation, much like every Seeker kind of ever, it's pretty easy to do. We're going to remove his cannons here first. Just set those off to the side for now. Come to this back section. You do have to kind of use some force with some stuff. So first we're going to try and pull this away. I mean, you can see one comes out like instantly, which is really unfortunate. If you do want to know how to pin this in, I know that PIA did a pretty good tutorial on how to kind of drill these sections and then put a pin through there, so you can check that out. But then this, you kind of have to get your fingernail in there, lift this all the way up, and then you have a little slot section here that little nub is going to go into. Locks that in just like so. Then on the underside of the wings, they actually tab in to the back section here of what's going to become his forearm. So lift this, you got that little connector piece right there. Just do that on both sides, lift that away from the body. And then the forearms also then on the inside here, tab into the outside of what's going to become his leg. So just separate that and fold that around like that, kind of get the arms out of the way. And then you can take these legs and stretch these down like so. One thing that's really very cool in terms of engineering, they got a spring-loaded back section right here, which as you bring this up, you really don't even see it, but it collapses in so that you can get it all the way up. That's really cool. I like that. And then take this, hinge this up, and you want to rotate here at the waist just like so. Come to this back section. This tabs in really securely, so just kind of wedge this apart, get these wings out of the way, and these are going to rotate around. Well, before you go all the way around, bring this whole chest piece down. As you push that down, it will push the back section of his head out so that you can reach in there and grab it easily. Rotate that all the way around. And then you got this little back flap that actually needs to be detached. Why they have that on there other than maybe just keeping it squared when it goes into the back cavity, I have no idea. But when you're done, just detach that and put that around just like so. And then you can bring the rest of this up like that. And then you have these little slots here that will slot into his back. So accordion this bit down and line those little sections up. Give that a little push into place. It's a little bit tricky to see what's going on. So there we go. There's one, and then slot that in. There's two. You can angle these wings however you see fit. Come to these arms. These will accordion out, rotate. They're going to rotate around, and then separate this, spin his. So get that around, and then bring that there. Bring the arm all the way down. Make sure you keep the fist around. And as you rotate the fist, that's where it kind of shifts a little bit. So just be careful with that. So again, rotate these out to the side. You can extend that down. Open up the flap. Rotate his fist out. Close that. Bring that all the way around. Then these feet. Flare those out like so. Straighten everything. Bring the null rays. Plug these into his shoulders, right up there. And when you're done, there you have Starscream in his robot mode. And the question is this figure good enough as all the other Siege figures that I've gotten previously to replace older versions in my display? Well, we'll find out. The overall look on this guy is really very nice. In terms of recreating kind of a G1 look for him, they do a good job despite the fact that he transforms into something different than what we're used to. I was really impressed with the overall look for him. You can see he does have a lot of that kind of battle damage or wear. You get a little bit more of it here on the forearms with some silver paint. You could see it in the vehicle mode with the chest and all that. You get a lot more of it here in the legs, down here kind of in the feet area. But one thing that's also really striking me is the amount of detail in here. I mean, like, there's a lot of sculpted in detail throughout the entire thing. Coming in to take a closer look. Number one, the head sculpt looks amazing. It absolutely has that Starscream look. I really don't get why we have light piping. You can see you got a little light bar back there, but you don't really get much coming through the eyes. I mean, it's a little bit. I don't even know if you're able to see it, but it's very, very minimal. So I almost would have preferred that they just left that out and painted the eyes. But you can see, I mean, in addition to the weird paint, an amazing amount of detail sculpted throughout the entire thing. The arms, you can see all the different panels and riveting work and everything. I mean, even on the underside of the wings, you got a lot of detail. Look at the crotch section. Look at it. I said, look at it. That was weird. But you got, again, a lot of that really nice detail in the legs as well. I mean, really impressed with what they're doing with this Siege line. I mean, it's been blowing me away. Now, for a size, this is where it gets a little off for me. Here we have Starscream. Here we have Megatron. I feel like Megatron should always be bigger, and he is bigger, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's not bad, but I honestly do prefer the classic one. Granted, he might be a little bit too small, but I like this. I like Starscream being weaselly and tiny. I just ultimately think that this is what's going to stay in my display. I mean, it's not a, overly impressive figure by today's standard. I mean, not much is done. But I still default to this guy. This guy is amazing looking. Do not get me wrong. He looks terrific. I think it's ultimately the size that makes me want to keep this guy a little bit longer. I mean, honestly, it's at the end of the day, I probably will go with this guy, which means I'm going to have a lot of these Seekers that I'm going to end up having to sell. But if they give us all of these, in terms of the repaints, Thundercracker and Skywarp are obvious. If they do the Rainmakers, that would be cool. I would buy all of them. I don't know how they could really do the Coneheads or anything, but, you know, the more that I look at this guy and just kind of eyeball him, I might actually, yeah, I might be replacing that Starscream. It's not to say that this figure is perfect. There are issues like with the chest, but I mean, it tabs in there. I mean, it's not, I mean, when you have it locked in, I mean, it's not falling out or anything. It just gets a little bit flimsy when you're trying to transform them. So I think I've talked myself into it. For his articulation, the head here is on that little sliding thing, so it kind of goes back, and then it also has a ball joint, so you can get it kind of moving any way you want. I like that range of motion. The shoulders here, as part of the transformation, he does have like a butterfly joint, which gets you a really nice range of motion moving forward and back. They move in and out, they rotate and all that stuff. He rotates at the upper part of the forearm. He's got two bends here at the elbow. Obviously, the guns can rotate. The fists can also rotate, but when you rotate them around, they feel like they're going to, like they're misshapen, and they're going to want to pop out. So do be careful when you're doing that. He does rotate at the waist. The hips move forward and back. They move in and out. They rotate. They got a nice bend here at the knee. The ankles do pivot in a little bit, so you can get a little bit wider of a pose. Not really anything forward or back per se, but you know, not too bad. He also does have wing articulation. They can hinge back and up and down and all that kind of stuff, so you can kind of get this looking however you might want it to. I mean, you can get them flared out like that. I just prefer leaving them down. It's a little bit more of a classic look, maybe angling them a little bit. But I have talked myself into it, I think. I didn't think I was going to replace that guy, but I just feel like he is a solid enough representation that he's good enough to be detolfed and replace Starscream in my classic Starscream in my display. So if you're looking for any Seekers, hit me up. I'll probably have a bunch to be selling. To transform them back, we're going to take these and remove them. Take this and open both of these forearm panels, and then rotate the fists around just like that. And then when you have it open up like that, you can collapse that up and then in. Bring that back down and rotate that to the outside. Do that on this side as well. You're going to fold out the fist, rotate that around, collapse the arm, fold that, and then rotate that around. Keep that there and keep that just like so. Come to the back section here and pull this away from the body. It tabs in there, and just hinge this out. Get that, there we go. And pull that away like so. And then this part can get a little bit tricky to do. You have to reach in here and fold out that little flap here in the back. It does get tricky to grab it because you don't have a lot of space. I'm imagining kids would probably have a little bit easier of a time because they got smaller fingers. So just pull this out. And then on the back is a little tab that slots into a spot in the back of his head. That just kind of line that up and kind of push that in there if you get it. There we go. And again, I don't really know why you do that other than it just maybe keeps the head straight. You can detach the chest piece, rotate that back because you need to have the space to push the head all the way in, and you only get that extra space if you have the chest piece up like so. Then come around here, rotate his waist, take these little pieces, these are going to rotate around, and then you can squeeze these together like so, collapse the feet, and then hinge these back. And then you got a little slot section right here that this piece is going to lock up into. Get the little thing out of the way, and push that in just like so. Do that on this side as well. Push that in just like so. And then these arms, straighten these out. Keep this all kind of straight. That little piece is going to flop around. This side here stays tabbed in a little bit better than this one does, so that kind of helps. So this, you got to rotate these around. And oh, actually, I had that the wrong way. So have these little tabs on the bottom that you're going to lock in here. So bring that in. Give that a nice little push like so. Do that on this side as well. Angle this kind of on a diagonal, and then you rotate the lower section of the arm to get that tab and slot section to line in. Give that a good squeeze, locking that into place. Take this, you bring this all the way down like so, and then bring these bits down. Again, you got little tabs here that lock in right in the top section here. So kind of maneuver that, get that in there. Do that on this side as well. And then you actually do take these little bits right here, tuck this underneath the main nose cone section, and then line this up, push that in like that. That's kind of flopping around. There we go. Take this section, detach this, hinges back and down, and then bring this piece up, pushing this in, locking that into place. Now again, you can put these weapons in any of the positions. I like putting them on the little holes right on the side here. I think again, it looks a little bit better. You get that in there thusly. And when you're done, there you have Starscream back in his Tetrajet mode. Overall, though, a great toy. It really, really is. Vehicle mode-wise, looks good. I did think that the legs underneath him were going to bother me a lot more than they do. I'm glad that they don't. What does bother me is the back chest piece. That just looks out of place, especially since it doesn't really go with the flow of the rest of the vehicle mode's lines, I guess. I mean, you could totally see it just like dangling out there. So I do feel that that's a little bit lazy in terms of engineering. Transformation is actually fairly impressive. Yes, it's simple, but it really does what it needs to do, and that's get to a robot mode that really does evoke that Starscream look. I mean, everything from the way his legs look to the way that the arms are positioned, to even those little things that are on like the top part of his shoulder, he really does look great as Starscream. And we all know that this is going to be repainted at least a couple other times with Skywarp and Thundercracker, and I am perfectly fine with that. When I first got this figure, and even when I first started this video, I was not entirely on board with replacing that classic Starscream with this guy. But through the time it took to do this video, I really have changed my mind. It was always a good figure, but now I think it's worth that much more and really does deserve to be in your displays. So all that being said, if this version of Starscream is a figure that you'd like to add to your collection, he is hitting various retail locations right now. So if you're looking for him, good luck and happy hunting. Or as always, there's places such as Big Bad Toy Store. For that, I'll put a link down in the video description where you'll go to BBTS and you can check out availability on this guy as well as the rest of the wide range of Transformer figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. Remember, if you like this video, I would really appreciate your support, guys, simply by hitting that little thumbs up button. That one small gesture really does go a long way towards helping me out, and I would really appreciate it. And a huge thank you if you made it all the way to the end of this review. Another way that you can really help support my channel is making sure that you watch a video all the way through. And if you did that, thank you. Also, I want to send a huge shout out to all of my patrons, who through their continued support, now more than ever help to make reviews like this possible. And finally, remember, the real trouble with the world is that too many people grow up. Thank you for watching and taking the time to be a kid.